this year, voters will receive 3 ballot papers instead of the usual 2. Now, the reason behind this change is the Electoral Amendment Act that was passed in April of 2023. Now, for the first time in South Africa's history, individuals will be allowed to contest elections as independent candidates. This has been made possible by the Electoral Amendment Act, which became law in June of 2023. Now, for more on this, we're now joined by SABC News reporter Natasha. Natasha, thank you so much for your time. Given just how crucial this election is, for one, the addition of the independent candidates, it then becomes crucial to educate voters just about what to expect and what each ballot paper entails. Just talk to us about these changes.
Well, thank you so much, Unati. You're quite right. This year's elections will be an election year like no other. It's very, very crucial. And for the first time in the history of our country, Unati, the voters' roll now sits at 27.79 million, meaning that these 27.79 million people who are on the voters' roll are eligible to go out and vote come the 29th of May. And, the resounding call from various political parties is that this number actually should go out in their numbers to actually vote. You know that we've got a voting population in the country of over 40 million, but only 27.79 people are on the voters' roll. And political parties are urging South Africans at large, those who are on the voters' roll, to actually go out in their numbers to go vote. You mentioned another crucial point. So for the first time in the history of South Africa, we've got 3, ballot papers this year as opposed to 2. And what you cited earlier on was quite crucial, that Unati, for the first time in the history of the country, we've got independent candidates that are actually going to contest in these elections. So if I'll just take you through those 3 ballots. So the first ballot, Unati, is a national ballot for the elections, and this is for the compensatory seats. Those are 200 members of the National Assembly, which is only contested by political parties on a closed list basis. So this is just for political parties. Independents won't be contesting in this ballot. And of course, this ballot is the same for the whole country. We then go to the next ballot, which is the regional ballot for the regional elections of 200 members in the National Assembly. Remember, they have 400 seats in the National Assembly United. This ballot will vary from region to region, depending on which parties and independent candidates will contest their relevant regions. So only the names of the various political parties and independent candidates that are contesting for regional seats will actually, be reflected on this ballot. The last ballot is the provincial ballot. So this ballot is the election for the members in the provincial legislatures. So all across the 9 provinces, we've got the various provincial legislatures, your Gauteng, your KZN. So this is where independent candidates and political parties will be vying for those seats in those legislatures. So it's quite important for South Africans to actually know that this time around, they won't be seeing 2 ballots, but of course 3 ballots. It would be interesting to see how long those ballot papers are, and how long people will actually be taking to actually mark their ballots or actually vote. But later on, Unati, I can tell you that we will be covering an NPC. The National Press Club has invited the IEC's Chief Electoral Officer, Mr. Sai Mamabolo, to talk about the integrity of the elections. And I think this comes at a time where, some political parties were casting doubt on the IEC's integrity. Remember, there was that IEC official who was fired recently for leaking the list of the ANC and MK party, and of course that individual was dealt with. But the IEC also reassuring various political parties and South Africans that, listen, this was an isolated case, it has been dealt with, but it shouldn't then cast a dark cloud on the work of the IEC and the work of the officials, of course, Unati.
Just, talking about the importance that now lies ahead for, the IEC, about, the integrity and, of course, how free and fair these elections will be. What are we likely to expect to see today during this workshop? I know that there is that, workshop that will be taking place in as far as the Independent Electoral Commission trying, to host some of these discussions, which is very important. important because, as you know, there has been some doubt that has been cast on the IEC. This was, of course, as we heard from several other parties, rubbished in as far as saying that the integrity of the IEC remains.
Well, we'll have, as members of the media, those who are going to be present, actually engage, the IEC, Mr. Mababulo, to be specific, on these various issues. But it's also a crucial time for the IEC because remember, Unati, they've got an elections timetable. So in the latest for the IEC on the 11th, which was Monday, they actually certified, the voters' roll. And what's up next in terms of political parties and their the candidate nomination system? Remember last week they had submitted their deposits, they had submitted their signatures, and their lists. What is up next on the 20th of March, notices of non-compliance. So if you're an independent candidate, if you're a political party, and you are issued with a notice of non-compliance to actually fix your submissions, then you have until the 20th of March. That should be rectified. Then on the 26th and on the 27th, the provincial list of candidates will be published for inspection. So, as we go along, there are various important dates, where political parties need to rectify certain things, or, the IEC will say, listen, on such and such a date, you as a political party need to do this. But also the issue of voter education also comes under the spotlight. You had Musi Maimani, where I'm standing exactly last week on Thursday, had actually accused the IEC of not doing much when it comes to voter education. But remember, the onus is not only on the commission itself to educate voters around the voters' roll, around signatures. The onus is also on political parties themselves when they actually go out and campaign for votes, when they actually go do their rallies or town hall debates, to actually educate the normal voter to say that this election will be an election year like no other, despite you coming out in your numbers to go vote. This is what you need to know when you actually go into, that voting station, that there will be 3 ballots, that this time around this has to happen in such and such a way. So it's very critical and very crucial for political parties themselves, civil society organizations themselves, those who want to register as election observers, to actually educate the masses out there, and also members of the media ourselves, to actually disseminate this information like we're doing right now in IT.
Just very quickly, Natasha, of course, we've seen a number of political parties, in fact, the Big Five too, just also, launching their manifestos. We still have some political parties that are yet to do so. Following that process, just bring us up to speed in terms of what are we likely to see?
Okay, so Nancy, you're quite right. The Big Five is now out of the way. I believe that this weekend, the Good Party will be having their manifesto. Parties like Action SA, correct me if I'm wrong, should be next week, the 23rd of March. Then the Patriotic Alliance. Then you have parties like the MK Party that will be then launching the manifestos. These campaigns will then come. But remember, there is that all-important event where political parties will be all drawn in to an event or one room where they actually have to sign, the IEC's code of conduct to say, listen, we will comply with these elections. We will do so and so and forth as a political party to ensure that, these elections are free and fair, but also they themselves as political parties actually, tolerate one another, or there is that level of tolerance. And of course, closer to the date, the IEC will then be releasing somewhat more of, their timetable. But of course, the IEC has been having regular briefings, Unati, with us members of the meeting on a weekly basis, regularly announcing what next step they're actually going to take as a commission leading up to the polls on the 29th of May.